This is the Witcher podcast on TV Podcast Industries. We're back with the second half of our coverage of The Witcher, Season 4, Episodes 5 to 8.
Years ago, Vilgefortz convinced Emir that his destiny rests on the fulfillment of Ithlinne's prophecy.
To have an heir? With his daughter?
Ciri is my child of destiny. If I had just claimed her at birth, none of this would be happening.
I don't believe that. Destiny involves choices. You chose a path. Not claiming her was a choice.
I was created to kill monsters and collect coin, that's all.
Clearly not. You're evolving.
We all are. Don't you see? I blindly put my faith in Emir. But when I saw Cirilla at Thanedd, I saw the future. I chose a new path to help her, and then I met you. It's not a coincidence, Geralt.
Welcome back, Witchers. This is the second part of our coverage of Season 4 of The Witcher on TV Podcast Industries. We're going to be chatting all about the other 4 episodes of The Witcher, episodes 5 to 8. Our first part is out right now. You can check it out on TV Podcast Industries. I am one of your hosts, Derek.
Hello there, fellow Witchers. I am your other host, John. Welcome back to these final 4 episodes as we cover them for Witcher Season 4. If you didn't get our coverage of the first 4 episodes of Witcher Season 4, then please pop on over to our website at tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast on any podcast player of your choice. You can also send in your emails with your thoughts, theories, and observations about all things to do with The Witcher to feedback at tvpodcastindustries.com. And of course, we have our group over on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries.
Yes, and fellow Witchers, did you know there was a movie that came out on Netflix the same day as Season 4 of The Witcher called The Rats, a Witcher movie. So there's an hour-long or an hour-and-a-half movie all about the rats. We're going to talk about all of that later on in the episode. I'm not going to spoil anything just yet. But did you get the feeling that, like with Season 3, they were supposed to be splitting up Season 4 into 2 halves and then putting the Rats movie out in between those 2 halves?
I think certainly after seeing these 4 episodes, knowing then that there was a hidden Rats movie, for sure, I think it then makes a hell of a lot more sense that you would split The Witcher Season 4 into 2 parts with the Rats sort of feature TV episode or movie in between.
It just must be such a weird thing for the production team and the executive producers behind the show, Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, as the leader of them, to try and work around and navigate how Netflix are going to release your show in the future when they're filming 2 seasons back to back like they did with Season 4 and Season 5 of The Witcher. Last time it was all split up into multiple parts. This time it all dropped in a day. And they had another movie to come out. And nobody could tell me after watching the season and the Rats movie, nobody could tell me when you should watch the Rats movie. Everybody was like, well, you can't watch it beforehand because there's things that happen in the movie that happened in the season of Season 4. And you probably have to watch it afterwards, but then you've already seen the story of what happens with the Rats. So does it make sense? So now it makes sense after watching this season. The Rats probably should be watched in between the 2. So we are going to watch it next, and we will be covering it here on the podcast. So if you've watched it, send us your thoughts over to feedback at tvpodcastindustries.com, or if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it, and we'll be chatting about it next up on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us get into our spoiler-filled discussion of these final 4 episodes. Let's kick it off with the joy of cooking.
Absolutely, yes. Episode 5 of the series is The Joy of Cooking, which is taking all the various ingredients of the group, finding out all about them, how they work best together, and creating a beautiful stew like we have here with the crew around The Witcher, right? That's what it's all about.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So, Derek, what are some of the episode details for The Joy of Cooking? Or should I call you Delia Smith?
Maybe, or for our American friends, maybe Prue.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that was the name of her book from the 70s, was The Joy of Cooking, wasn't it?
I guess so.
Everybody knows Prue Leith from Great British Bake Off.
Of course
John.
they do. And they should know about Delia Smith, and now hopefully they will after this public service announcement.
Absolutely. Well, the show, of course, is based on the book series by Andrzej Sapkowski and the game series from CD Projekt Red. The showrunner for the show, of course, is Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich. We've covered her work all the way back to her time working on Daredevil and the Defenders, and also on the Umbrella Academy as well. This episode was directed by Alex Garcia-Lopez. These are Alex's first episodes since season 1 of The Witcher. He's also a Marvel Netflix mainstay, having directed episodes of Daredevil, Luke Cage, and The Punisher.
Excellent stuff.
Again, alongside Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, of course. The episode was written by Matthew D'Ambrosio. He's been a staff writer on The Witcher since season 2, and also writer on The Vampire Diaries, John. You were a bit of a fan of The Vampire Diaries for a while, weren't you, John?
Yes, I was. So yeah, that's good. And D'Ambrosio, Devon knows how they make them so creamy.
Do you think he's from Devon?
I doubt it. Maybe the Italian equivalent of Devon.
Maybe. But John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for episode 5 of The Witcher season 4, The Joy of Cooking?
Sure. Geralt and his group tell each other stories from their lives as they wait to cross the river. Zoltan and Yarpan tell of how Zoltan went into exile after being falsely accused of selling dwarven weapons to humans. Meanwhile, Jaskier tells of his songs and how they were stolen by the rival bard Valdo Marx in a musical flashback. Milva describes her abusive upbringing and attempts to save elven refugees from persecution while living with druids after killing her abusive stepfather. And Regis rejoins the group and tells of how he swore off consuming blood after losing the love of his life, as the flashback is depicted in an animated form. Kahir tells of how he took care of Emir when the latter lived in the forest as the urchin, making Geralt realise that Emir is Ciri's father, Dunny, and that he wishes to marry his own daughter to fulfil Ithilne's prophecy. Meanwhile, Fringilla discovers the captured Istrid, but is quickly captured herself and tortured for information. She manages to warn Yennefer as Vilgefortz prepares to attack Monte Calvo.
They're coming. What a great cliffhanger at the end of the episode. Poor little Fringilla, hairless and beaten down, calling out to Yen, saying they're coming. It's a cool ending to it. Most of this episode really is the structure of it, and that's what we'll talk about in our big moments from the episode. This is a traditional flashback episode, I guess, giving you more character details about our major characters.
Their backgrounds and a bit of their backstory. So yeah, this was kind of an interesting take for an episode 5. You know, midway through. Again, a lot of the characters we've seen before, you know, have been there since season 3. Certainly, someone say like Yarpan, Milva, indeed Jaskier. So you know, interesting to have it. But I did like some of these stories done in flashback.
Yeah, and I kind of love the idea that it's, you know, sitting around waiting for the stew to cook. None of them really chefs by any stretch of the imagination, but they're sitting around the campfire. So the campfire stories come out. It makes lots of sense, right? John, do you want to give us your big moment from the episode, the ones you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think my big moments really here from this episode is I absolutely loved the musical backstory of Jaskier. It made complete sense, you know, his song for Oxenfurt, as we get that backstory of him and Valdo sort of vying for fame in a sense. And I just kind of liked the way it was just so sunny, colourful. There was frivolity, you know, the songs. In fact, there were reach-arounds in songs as well. So I thought this was all very witchery. I did like as well that, you know, after Valdo steals his book, the whole palette of Jaskier's story goes to grey, and actually it's Valdo who is in colour, singing away. So I kind of did like this whole rivalry aspect and how, you know, Jaskier is just yearning to be immortalized and memorialized in a sense through his songs of the tales of this continent.
Yes,
and
the 50 years of tales. Wouldn't it sound better as a half a century of tales? Yeah, like that a lot.
Absolutely.
One of the things I loved about the musical part of this episode was just how they used Geralt in here, where the only thing he says at all during the song is no. And then it's used again as a repeated motif by Jaskier later on, where he sings, as a friend would often say no, which I thought was really good. It's an interesting story that we have. And, I love that throughout we see Geralt's reaction to everything that's going on. He's also going, this isn't how I remember this story at all. Noticing the embellishments that Jaskier always puts on his stories to make them tales that will last forever. And that's most of what this tale is. It is about Jaskier and how he's been able to weave these tales that he knows will last long after he's gone, and handing on that gift to somebody else, and then them stealing his tales, and that takes away his magic power for a moment, and then he realizes, actually, I wrote them once before, I still have the talent, I can write more again, and that will become my legacy. Yes. It's not about the book I had in the past, that isn't my only thing, I now have the power to write more and continue my legacy in the future. So it's a really positive one. And I will say, I haven't talked much about it at all, but I had got such a laugh reading the reviews of this particular episode on IMDb. I commented on last week about the reviews being quite low for this season. I couldn't understand why. And every review for this episode that I saw was like a 1-star review from idiots on IMDb going, oh, well, this is where the Witcher jumped off a cliff having a musical episode. What is this, Glee? If I wanted to see Glee, what was the one? If I wanted to see Glee, I'd go and have my head examined rather than watch this episode of the Witcher.
Excellent.
I love when they wind people up this much.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, it absolutely made sense that Jaskier's story would actually be in song, would be musical. So, I mean, this I really enjoyed, for sure. I think as well, I like the fact that after he's told it, Emil Regis kind of shows up back within the group and at the campfire, and Jaskier jumps and he says, relax, poet, your blood smells good. Or should I rephrase that? It doesn't smell as though you have any infection.
Exactly.
Which was really, really good.
I just think that would work so well on stage if you have the vampire character coming out of the darkness and going, your blood smells good.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry, I'm saying the wrong thing again.
But we get also Regis's backstory. And I like the fact that they just played around with the format here and had this animated version of Regis's story, which is ultimately really tragic. He's created a vampire as a result of the convergence, and he talks about the vampires, how they lose themselves in blood and everything. But there was his kind of love, Bethane, changed all that. But ultimately she was taken from him by his old coven, and so took revenge. But ultimately, again, going around looking for vampires, and living so openly with Bethane, he himself was stalked by, humans and villagers in the area, beheaded and buried. But I do like that he says it takes more than that to kill a vampire. And so, he comes back alive after many years. But I think it's just kind of really interesting to see, that kind of story of Regis, just get that backstory. I mean, in a sense, it felt like this was, to some degree, I think, along with Cahir, because Cahir's always just been the general of Nilfgaard. So what is his backstory? And Regis is new. So these do shed some light, some new light onto these characters. Whether it's down to Regis being 428 years old, to, seeing how, his life went, got turned upside down twice. One, becoming a vampire. Secondly, meeting Bethane, but also losing her to his coven. So,
and then being underground healing for 50 years.
Exactly.
For half a century
of underground healing. But I like then how at the end of it, you have the Witcher saying, how can I trust someone fighting their impulses? And Regis kind of just comes back to him saying, and how does the butcher of Blaviken fare? Some days are better than others. Yes, it's almost like I'm working through this, getting off this addiction, exactly. But equally, I think, Regis has identified that The Witcher, Geralt, you are atypical. You would have killed me. And Cahir, also comes in and says, and me as well.
Exactly.
So The Witcher, not just physically and facially, he is a changing.
Yes, he is. Absolutely.
So I these are the two stories I really, really enjoyed from all the ones that we got here in this episode.
Yeah, no, they're really good. And again, I love this this continuing bit about Regis. Any idea that you've had in your mind about what vampires are like, well, I'm here to tell you none of those are true. That's just human folklore. I don't have to drink blood at all times. I'm not skulking in the shadows to kill people. I can be out in the daylight. It's just really interesting that he does that. And taking off my head and stabbing me in the heart isn't going to kill me. I just will reform and come back after 50 years, So even that, coming back after 50 years, that probably means the person that put him in the grave is already dead and moved on. So they would never know that he came back. So I love those little touches that are in there for the story. But yes, that's really the part of the episode are all the stories. The story of Zoltan, which is a story of misunderstanding while he was trapped inside his burnt out forge. The stories went round that he was selling weapons to humans, and that turned all of the dwarves against him. So him telling the story resets the relationship between Yarpen and himself. They become friends again. Milva tells the story about the fact that she pushed away people after the treatment from her father. Absolutely disgusting treatment from him. So she killed him, left, and then she started to help the free people, the Skoital, to avoid being in the wars. So, but she always kept her distance from them until she didn't, and then they were all killed. And it was only when the Witcher was brought to their camp that she got a new job and a new purpose. So, he's helped her in her life. Then we have Cahir, with the biggest reveal really of the episode, that, he was the young boy that took care of, Dooney, who was the hedgehog man at the time, the Urshowan, who was in the forest. It was Cahir that was taking care of him. And we find out that actually Dooney, the person who gave the Witcher the original prize right back in episode 1 of season 1, to have Ciri as his daughter. This is Emir, and now Emir is looking to marry his own daughter to fulfill a prophecy. So a massive reveal here out of these stories with each other. And really, very simple message of the episode. Maybe take time to listen to what your enemies have to say, and you may learn something massively valuable, which is what happens here with Cahir and Geralt. If they hadn't had this conversation, maybe Geralt would never find out who Emir really is and what the real intention is between himself and Ciri.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was a really good reveal, actually. And I think that was the good thing about this kind of whole episode, just the different, the structure of each individual backstory over the campfire, but having this meaningful one by understanding, his previous enemy, Cahir,
exactly.
Who is Vicavarian. It is an honor that he would serve to the Emperor. So
not Nilfgaardian, like we always thought he was.
Well, he's from the Nilfgaardian zone, I guess.
I love that when Yasker's kind of going, so we've learned that you're not Nilfgaardian, but you're from the area very close to Nilfgaard. Really like that. But that isn't my big moment of the episode. That's just the other stories in the episode. My big moment of the episode, the ones I loved most, were the other two stories of this crew. One, the parrot story, because we do get it, when we find out that Zoltan had bought the parrot, and we see his story done in flashback, which was he was taken out of a cage with his partner, stuffed in a bag, and then sold onto Zoltan. And then Zoltan says out loud to the group, well, he can go if he wants to. And he basically says, feck off, and goes and flies away. And Zoltan goes, I didn't think it was going to last like that.
I did like the fact that they gave the parrots its own backstory.
Yeah,
it was very
great.
Nice and truncated. For sure.
And the most truncated one, and also probably my favourite, is the goblin, who doesn't say a word, he just smiles, but inside his head we see him standing on the bones of what we can assume is all of his enemies and maybe all of his friends, cheering his own praises for being on top of the mountain. I just think that's really funny that it's just a moment, and he doesn't say anything further about it.
It was really good, yeah.
Good stuff. Any other notes, anything else you want to mention from this episode, John?
The only thing I have is The Witcher does quite a mean pigtail, I noticed here. from this, when you have Geralt's story.
Yes.
As you hear that he wants to be, the potential to become a knight. This Geralt of Rivia. But his focus is
he gave the
Ciri.
name to himself, yeah.
And, he should have claimed her, but doesn't mean pigtail.
Yeah.
I saw that he was doing.
I also love the joke that he says to Ciri. It's just so deadpan that you don't even realize it's a joke. Ciri's looking at him going, I'd rather have effectively one of the bold witchers do my hair than you do it. And he just says, well, me and Yen used to beautify ourselves very often, so they used to spend days and days in the bath and doing themselves up. So we haven't had a bath moment by this episode, but he's already joking about it with Ciri.
Absolutely.
He knows there's a reputation of the Witcher.
I do also like here Skellen, who's Emiya's kind of spy master and fake Ciri, where he's basically says to her, there's nothing worse than a bad actor. And some of the worst parts I ever did was when I resisted my role, and effectively telling her, know your role. Instead of feeling like a queen, you can live long enough to be a queen. Do we understand one another? And basically says, with that agreement, wouldn't it be good, that they can ultimately then continue this level of engagement and trust, wouldn't that be nice? So I kind of like that little moment there, certainly with old fake Ciri.
Absolutely, especially because that all spreads out of that opening scene where they're killing I guess their enemies by hanging them at the beginning, and that's where we find out that somebody has revealed the identity of the fake bride. And it eventually gets back to Skellen, which I just think is really interesting. We see the person who's revealing it, his eyes exploding because he mentions the name of Vilgefortz. On prompting, he mentioned it incorrectly beforehand. He mispronounced it, and then he pronounces it correctly, and then his eyes explode. Would have been all over the king, except for his right-hand person, Eva, stands in in the way.
I love that. I actually love that happened. I just feel in a lot of other shows you wouldn't have that done. But I did like the fact that Eva just saw what was happening and stands and takes the full force of the exploding eyes. Really so that Radovid is clean of blood, free from blood. But ultimately, they now know that Vilgefortz gave Emiya a fake Ciri. Dum.
Absolutely, they gave her an Alexa. I think. I wish they'd called the character Alexa. But anyway, so John, how do you rate this episode?
I would give this 4 Delia Smiths out of 5. I thought the joy of cooking was exactly that. The joy of cooking. I just liked how the individual spices of each of the different backstories came together in perfect unison with a nice waft of the hand to get that aroma. So yes, 4 Delia Smiths out of 5.
Or Prulitz. Yes.
Or Prulitz. Exactly.
Very good. We have got some feedback yet on this episode from Dr. Bob Phillips. Now that's how you do a flashback episode. Animation, drama, varied points of view, and we've all been dreading it, a technical or musical interlude for Chris to attempt to reproduce.
Yes, that would be very good if Chris was here to be able to reproduce off-key this part of the flashback episode.
Well, I only have one thing to say to that, Dr. Bob. No. Thanks so much for your thoughts, Dr. Bob. It was a great flashback episode, wasn't it? Yeah,
definitely.
Really good.
Really good. Thanks, Dr. Bob.
Let's get on to episode 6, John.
You say you care about me, but I think what you really want is this little doll to shape and mould that you can control.
That's not true.
It is, and it has been since the night you came into that wagon.
Stop it. The pain you're hiding. You're failing. You think you're killing it, but it's killing you. Your darkness is growing, Volker. And if you're not careful, it's going to consume us all.
You're going to leave?
No.
Then accept me as I am. Because all of this darkness, this is me.
Yes, Twilight of the Wolf.
Yes, this episode once again directed by Alex Garcia-Lopez, and this time written by Javier Grillo-Marxuach. Javi, who was co-host of Children of Tendu, the Hollywood podcast, alongside friend of TV podcast industries, Jose Molina. Jose and Javi do a great podcast. If you have any interest in writing, or working with studios, the podcast is fascinating, called really Children of Tendu. And I was joking with John when I found out Javi was writing this episode. I was reminiscing with John about our time covering his show, Agent Carter. Jose Molina was one of the writers over there who used to message us every week if our episode wasn't up in time for him to listen when he was going to sleep each night. When the episodes came out, he wanted to hear our podcast, which was really cool of him.
Yeah, it was really nice.
He's a lovely guy, but I was like, I was all stressed out because, as usual, I was to the wire editing podcasts every week. So it was very nice of him. And he and Javi hosted the podcast Children of Tendu for many years. So highly recommend go seeking out those episodes. They're massive. They were about 3 or 4 hours at times, just talking about the process of writing and how you get your stuff produced. And very interesting to have Javi here.
Really good. Yeah.
John, do you want to tell us what he gave us with your synopsis for The Witcher Season 4, Episode 6, Twilight of the Wolf?
Sure. Vilgefortz and his forces attack Monte Calvo. A battle ensues, and both Margarita and Vesemir are killed in the fighting. Fringilla frees Istrud, who sacrifices himself to destroy Vilgefortz's control over the network of portals, which allows Yennefer and her surviving allies to outmaneuver and kill Vilgefortz's legion of mages, forcing Vilgefortz himself to flee. Meanwhile, Ciri and the rats kidnap a young boy whom they claim is part of a ransom scheme. Ciri saves them from the city guards yet again, and word of her fighting prowess and savagery spreads, alarming Missel and reaching Bonnart's ear, who interrogates and kills the surviving guard for information on Ciri. He later takes a doll from a girl that Ciri gifted the doll to. A furious Yennefer teleports to Emir's palace in Nilfgaard, hoping to free Ciri. Oh yes, this was a biggie. Absolutely. Was the old Twilight of the Wolf. And I think we should get stuck into our big moments from episode 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. John, where are you starting?
I'm literally the attack by Vilgefortz on Monte Calvo. Loved all elements of this. It felt really epic, from having the novices shield Monte Calvo and sort of seeing Vilgefortz trying to penetrate it, seeing how the chaos magic takes its toll on his mages as well. I like the fact that, the payoff of having the witches teach them also hand-to-hand combat was really cool, because I just liked the whole sort of movement from having a blast of magic to then using a knife or a sword or the hammer or whatever it was. It made it feel much. I just felt more visceral. It felt more real that they would actually do this. And, they seem to be getting a good lot of Vilgefortz's mages killed. And so I think all these sequences were really, really good. I thought the kind of the old witch type sorceress, she was very funny. But they couldn't kill her, which was great. I'm glad they couldn't kill her. I liked the fact that you had the focus on Vilgefortz's right-hand man who was going after the novices, and he killed Margarita. Just because I like the drink, I was like, not Margarita. Does that mean the continent no longer can, fulfill itself on a nice cocktail that comprises tequila, triple sec, lime, and some agave syrup?
Oh, you're making me thirsty.
I know, with a salty rim, dare I say it.
I know, Yen and Geralt would love one of those in their bath, wouldn't they?
But I must say as well, I was like, Margarita? because I didn't know her name.
Right.
So I was slightly taken aback that it was after a cocktail. I was expecting kind of a pineapple on her head or something like that.
Yeah.
But,
although that's the thing with this show, because there's so many characters and so many years apart, it's entirely possible that Margarita was a massive character in season 2 of the show, and we've just forgotten her name.
For sure. I mean, but I kind of felt, just because she was leading the novices off after they had done their initial shield, I thought it was really, really good. I like the fact that you have, as I say, Vilgefortz's right-hand man going after the novices. Yeah, I love the fact that he controls the witch that slits her throat. I mean, that felt really kind of tough, to be honest. But equally, he is knifed as well, and not by magic, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
In the end, he gets his comeuppance from physical, weaponry and swordplay.
Absolutely.
And is stabbed quite a lot, actually.
Yeah.
So, I really like this.
She's taking no crap there when Jan comes up behind them.
Definitely. I love the fact here, Vilgefortz kind of arrives a little later, so it's a bit easier for him to sort of clean up the scraps. But I love how, Yen and Philippa, in a sense, use quite simple magic of just concealment in order to get his plan, but equally
it's double concealment.
Well, it's double concealment. Yes, I mean he does actually call it out, but it is double concealment. Yeah, it's their illusion magic really to understand his plan. But they managed to disable him, and it looks like you're going to get Yennefer doing that mind meld again. But she's just not there in time. And one thing that Vilgefortz does learn is that Ciri and Yen are connected. And I think he says the line, she's just not your destiny, that, there's other things that will ultimately affect how this will play out. So,
she is her child.
It's really, really interesting how, it kind of plays out here. And yeah, I mean, Vilgefortz then really is portaling away, trying to escape. I do like, just the whole sequence of this fight at Monte Calvo. It felt really epic. I love Philippa trying to sort of set the water going as well.
Yeah.
After,
cool.
Again, you see the effect of the chaos magic here, and taking down Vilgefortz, mages, just the fact that Yen is saying we just need to hold, because the more the longer and longer they have to do it, the more they have to do it, the weaker they will become.
I love that touch.
Yeah.
It's really cool, isn't it? It's, magic battles, the battle between two magic users has always been quite difficult to show in film and TV. They've made big efforts and done one or two great moments, like in Lord of the Rings or in Harry Potter, did a good job of weaponizing the wand as a way of showing the action rather than just having people waving hands at each other. Wheel of Time did a really good job showing the magic and showing the channeling effectively. And here, they really do a good job of doing very, very different versions of the fight. That there's a great, almost like a oneer, almost like a long one shot when the battle is beginning, as we pan over the arrival of each of the Vilgefortz's force, and the battle between them and the mages. I think that was really cool, where you kind of see different characters coming in and using different types of magic against the oncoming forces. So that was really well done, as we see all of those elements, because this is a big battle episode, and if you don't work out a way to get the magic looking right on screen, the episode would fall completely flat, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
there's nothing.
Absolutely.
Nothing
it was
worse
really, really good. Yeah,
it was cool. And we do lose Vesemir as well in this episode, but he is battling very strongly and very close to taking out Vilgefortz himself, injures him quite severely in the episode. But yes, really sad to see Vesemir go, and especially because he's just been recast for the season. He's only had that great scene with Yen, where he passes on the tips of leadership to her, and here, unfortunately, he dies in this battle with Vilgefortz.
But it was a great sword fight. I mean, he held his own. I mean, that's the thing I think that was really good about this. It was a good old sword fight between these two. the staff of Vilgefortz and the sword of Vesemir. Again, it really makes you want to dislike Vilgefortz, because I like the fact that Vesemir, gets a cheeky little stab in, but ultimately then he gets staffed to death. Yeah. I mean, it looked brutal where he's pushing the staff all the way through Vesemir's body, and then kind of throws the words that Vesemir had started the fight with back in his face, because Vesemir had said, "This one is for my child," effectively Geralt.
Yeah.
One of his
his
sons, his Witcher sons.
Yes.
And Vilgefortz, after, he has run Vesemir through with his huge staff, it says, "This one's for me."
Yeah.
Just because he got a little stab.
I know.
Not that I would be
a little stab.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think he'd be walking right out.
In TV, it was a little stab. He will survive this, and he does.
The traditional side stab that can just be healed by a bandage in the future. Yeah,
yeah, but I mean, equally, I do like the fact that the consequence of this fight is that Yen he's injured. I'm going to go after him to kill him whilst he's weakened.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a great moment, this whole attack that's going on. And my other side of that, the other big moment for me from the episode really is Istredd and Fringilla and what they're doing, because the entire plan that Yen has kind of hinges on the need to destroy the monoliths, or to allow Yen and her team to finally be able to use portals again, because they've been blocked up by Vilgefortz. And I love how it's all written together. I love how it's all the jigsaw pieces fall into place, because the novices have been able to take out enough of Vilgefortz's people. He has to send more and more in. There's only one person left in his castle protecting the monoliths, so that allows the opportunity for Istredd to be able to go in and take her out, and for Fringilla to be able to do that. And then he is able to connect to the monoliths, but he reveals he has to sacrifice himself. He can't do it from a distance. This magic is too powerful for him. He's going to have to connect to the monoliths directly, and once he's done that, he will lose his own life, and he knows that going in. So a massive character going back to season 1, has a very small part in this season. We knew he was locked up, and he gave the information to Vilgefortz under massive pressure that everybody was in Monte Calvo. And here he sacrifices himself to save everybody. And it leads to that great moment when Yen finally realizes she's able to portal and able to take out the rest of Vilgefortz's people. So it's a cool moment. Yeah, well,
it's kind of like they portal to behind them.
Yeah.
And able to kill them all.
Exactly.
And then ultimately at the end of the episode as well, it's like she just decides, right, well, I'm portaling to Nilfgaard, right into the tower. Where's my Ciri, effectively?
Love it.
Yeah,
Love
so
it.
Really good.
It was.
And that was a great kind of end to it as well.
Yeah, as she walks the corridors, killing everything in her path to find her daughter. Very cool. Yeah. But so not only do we lose Margarita and Vesemir in this episode, we also lose Istredd too. So two major characters going back to the first couple of episodes of season 1 as well.
I'll miss Margaritas.
I'll miss Margarita's the best. I love it. Any other notes from the episode, John? Anything else to talk about from there?
No, nothing from me. I mean, we just, we do get the rats on a heist who kidnap a rich couple's kid for a ransom. So that was kind of interesting, but it all kind of snowballs then really, I guess a bit more heat coming on the rats, really, and more attention happening. Ultimately from Leo Bonhart, who is on the trail, of this, because the rich parents have effectively put this huge bounty onto the head of each of the rats, but in particular for Ciri.
Or Falca, yeah. And there's also a bit more excessiveness in Ciri here in this episode. She stays back from the fight for as long as she can after they've kidnapped the kid. She didn't know it was a kidnapping mission. She thought it was something else when they originally did the kidnapping. But as they're trying to escape, they all get rounded on by the town guards, and then she goes in for the kill, and she kills, she slaughters around. And when they get home afterwards, it almost made me laugh, actually, when they get back afterwards, and then everybody's starting to take the drugs, and then they pass on to Ciri. It's Fizztech, isn't it?
Yes,
the drug. And she starts taking some of it, and then suddenly they start wrecking the joint of the kids over to the corner, tied up, kind of going, hang on a second, what's this all about? Like,
this is my note taking after effectively a kid has just been kidnapped. Ciri takes the coke of the continent, and they have a coke fueled booze up after kidnapping the kid to hey nonny nonny rave while trashing the joint.
Wreck it. Yes.
Well, it's just like, okay.
Medieval prodigy.
Post-heist celebration, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
And yeah, the continent's prodigy.
Exactly. So, obviously, more to come for that as the episodes go on. John, how would you rate episode 6 of The Witcher Season 4?
There was so much portaling here, I would give this 5 aperture sciences out of 5.
Very good. I hope there's a cake.
Well, the cake is a lie, Derek.
Yes.
So, yes, probably not.
Cake,
probably not. But I just thought this was a really stunning fight and battle sequence for this episode. It really, really just popped. I really, really enjoyed it. So, 5 aperture sciences out of 5 with all that portaling.
Couldn't agree more. Definitely the best of the series. Really, really good episode. Do we have some feedback from Dr. Bob for this episode, John?
We certainly do. On episode 6, Dr. Bob says, not often one for long battles and drawn-out fights, but this was a stunner of an episode, with the Song of Fire and Flood being followed by the work of the butchers, who will be head-to-head within an episode, I reckon. Absolutely, I do like that. The Song of Fire and Flood, good little play there, Dr. Bob, on George R.R. Martin.
If George R.R. Martin was going to write a 12th book in the series before finishing the actual series of Game of Thrones, maybe he'd call it Fire and Flood.
Well, absolutely. But yeah, I completely agree with you. It was really just great, this whole sequence of sort of defending Monte Calvo and the different fights throughout its boundaries, really. So it was really good, Yeah,
absolutely. Thanks for your feedback, Dr. Bob. And on to the penultimate episode of The Witcher Season 4.
A few weeks ago, I drank mandrake juice.
Some say it reveals your deepest wishes.
I dreamt of us. Of Ciri. We were happy. She grew up. We grew old together. And I died of old age. When I dream of a life well lived, it's about us. Our family. To the end.
Do you think Ciri feels that way? Do you think we had enough time together? Don't worry. She doesn't know that we'll never stop looking for her.
She knows.
Vilgefortz will never stop looking for her. That's for sure.
And I will find her first.
And I will find him.
So, on to our penultimate episode of The Witcher Season 4, Episode 7, What I Love, I Do Not Carry. And this episode directed by Jeremy Webb. Oh, so much that we love that Jeremy Webb has done in the past. He's did Lock and Key, did Legion, and we've discussed loads of his shows, from The Punisher, 2 episodes of The Last of Us, and of course 6 episodes of The Umbrella Academy. And this is his first episode of The Witcher, interestingly. So lots and lots of shows that he's been involved in. It's his first of 3. He directs the next episode, the final of the season, and then directs, I think, the first episode of season 5 as well. So,
excellent stuff.
So he's now on board under the table and part of the old crew of directors that we've covered here on TV Podcast Industries.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, good to have Jeremy on board.
Absolutely. And the writer for the episode is Claire Higgins, a staff writer all the way back to season 2, episode 3, and has been a writer on the show ever since then.
Great stuff. Yeah. Great stuff. Love Absolutely. It when staff writers come into their own.
Yeah. Well, it just shows the team that are involved in the show have stayed on board. I know we talked about last episode about Henry Cavill moving on from the show because of external factors that were out of his control, but a lot of the rest of the team have stayed on to continue and close out the show with these 5 seasons.
Yeah, exactly.
So, exactly. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for Season 4, Episode 7, What I Love, I Do Not Carry?
Sure. Milva reveals to the group that she is pregnant after an encounter with an elf in Brocklin before she joined the group. Geralt and the party later across a swamp, but are derailed by two spirits known as Rusalka, who kidnap several members of the party. Geralt successfully defeats them, and the party then meets up with Yennefer, who informs them that the Ciri in Nilfgaard is a fake. Geralt and his party decide to instead travel to a group of druids who Regis believes can track the real Ciri's whereabouts. Yarpen and Percival decide to leave the party and return to the dwarven capital, while Yennefer returns to Monte Calvo. Emir, furious that the word of Terran being the fake Ciri has gotten out, threatens to kill Skellen, but spares him as Skellen points out that Geralt, also being connected to Ciri by destiny, is a threat to Emir's prophecy. The rats sell the boy they kidnapped to the merchant Hotspur, who informs them of Bonhart's whereabouts. Furious, Ciri leaves the rats to save the child, even as Mistle figures out she is Ciri and begs her to stay. Ciri easily dispatches of Hotspur outside the city, where he reveals to her that Leo Bonhart is laying a trap for the rats in order to kill them.
Very interesting.
Very interesting indeed.
Do you know, the one thing I'll probably say here, there's a moment when we hear the rats talk about Leo Bonhart. We hear the discussion between them and Hotspur, and they say, "Oh, we've dealt with them before." This is where this must be to do with the movie, right? That must be featuring Leo Bonhart and the rats and their battle with each other. Because
I think so.
At this point, when they say it, it's like it just comes out of nowhere, and it feels like we should know what that means.
I think so, and I also think, given how terrifying Leo Bonhart is, the rats don't seem to be the kind of group that would literally go after him. Look to confront him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they're cowards or anything like that, but it just feels as though they know the sensible move here would be not to go anywhere near him, having come very close to sort of possibly being killed by him previously, which again you'd probably see in the movie, and I think that's where it would give you that reason as to why they probably go after him.
I guess we'll find out next week when we watch.
But I think, that's where you really noticed it here. Around that bit, because to me, it really made no sense for them to go seeking that trouble, because everything else is they've tried to run from it.
Exactly. And again, at the end of the day, they're young guys and girls who have some rudimentary skills. They're all fairly handy with a sword, and they are all, there's explosive experts, there's thieving experts, that kind of stuff. But the way we were introduced to Leo was that he had lots of Witcher tags around his neck. So he's killed multiple Witchers who have been training all their lives to battle demons and monsters. Yes, Leo Barnard has taken out multiple of them. So you would suspect, that they would run away. So hopefully we'll get a bit of that story when we watch the Rats movie, John.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be really good.
But what's your major moment from the episode, John?
It's two, actually, because in a sense, Geralt gets a bath twice here. One with Swamp Thing, and the second one is with Yennefer. So my kind of big moment really is the whole Swamp Thing and the bath. I really like these, how the swamp was brought to life here with these spirits that we get to sort of know as Rusalka. And in a sense, just their tragic kind of story as well. Yeah. I liked how Geralt, and the party are getting, it's almost a bit alien-esque, isn't it? And I kind of liked that. I liked how, Yarpen goes. Then you have Jaskier being taken. You have Cahir being taken. And it's kind of left with this core group of Geralt, Regis, Milver, and you then see Geralt being pulled into the sort of the spell of these Rusalka,
the kind of vision of Yen and Ciri together.
Seeing the vision of Yen and Ciri together, but then also seeing later on when he kills the daughter of the Rusalka, just seeing that same scene play out, but between the mother and daughter of these two Rusalka.
Well, he frees them of that burden of mourning, I guess, is what he does.
Exactly.
And it's cool because it plays into the kind of monster of the week thing that we used to get in The Witcher. You know, there was always some monster in the midst of the story that was going on, and this time, seeing the swamp entities in here when they're on their journey to find these druids, I thought was a really good idea.
Well, that's it. It's just I think it's really cool seeing, you know, Geralt is kind of slowly being pulled under, but he's seeing the visions of the Rusalka interspersed with Yen and Ciri in the same way.
Yeah. But I think it probably might not come across as well in the show. It's probably easier to write in a book because of all of the prophecies and all of the visions and all the things that Geralt has gone through. Him seeing Yen and holding Ciri as she dies while they wait for Geralt's arrival, that may be straying into him thinking, oh, am I seeing a vision of the future? You know, it's something that you could describe quite well in a book, whereas here, as a viewer of the episode, you're going, well, you know, they're not going to be sitting in a swamp. They happen to be in that swamp that you're walking through, right? You know, that won't happen. But he's being dragged into it because that's the spell he's under.
Exactly.
And because of all the other things he's gone through in the past. I say that, and then, of course, Yen can portal, and Yen turns up in the swamp.
Well, that's it. That's it. I mean, that's the thing. I think it was just really good because it's quite tragic for the Rusalka, I think. I mean,
absolutely.
it's even when she holds him and says, I am cold and you're warm. I am alone.
Yeah.
I also thought they just looked really cool. I liked how they were sort of designed and how they were, they came about. It just looked really cool. And it felt it tied into Geralt's own personal story, you know, having this riddle to answer, and it's, you know, as he's getting pulled in under the swamp, he says, it is that I'm a father as well, the thing that they don't have, you know, these two Rusalka. So I thought this was really good. And then, like, as you say, Yennefer, portals in, and you get the TARDIS tent, which is bigger on the inside. But we've
seen that before, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
We have seen the tent that they go inside, and it's massive on the inside. And I guess now that she has her portal powers, that tent technically could be leading to anywhere. Because it didn't look like that on the outside. And why would somebody be carry that round with them? So I presume someone will correct us that it's something very simple that we just have forgotten from the past of the show, but it is their tent. It is the place where they hang out together, basically.
Yeah, everyone else can just stay in the cold, damp swamp. You know, sod them, so to speak. And we're going to have this nice warm bath whilst they make another Ciri, effectively.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
So if they can't find her, we'll just make another one by the looks of it. I mean, I do like the fact that we get the bath scene.
We do.
We absolutely needed that.
We did.
Really good. I really like it when you have these kind of this intimate moment between Geralt and Yennefer.
It's very sexy too. Yeah.
It is really good. Well, you know, and I think it's always been good, and this was excellent. I like the fact, you know, it just allows for that moment for Yen to tell Geralt about Vilgefortz and the battle at Monte Calvo. It also allows her to say that, well, I've portaled to Nilfgaard, and Ciri is not with Emir. It's a fake Ciri. So it all just allows for the narrative to catch up with Geralt. But ultimately we have bath time in the swamp. It's a flying visit really from Yennefer for a bit of nookie schnook.
Well, just showing that she's able to travel across
swamp
away.
Yeah, swamp sex.
Yeah.
Need a bit of swamp sex, and then right back, gotta sort out me surviving mages who are feeling a bit down in the dumps after everything.
It is kind of funny, as you say. It seems like they spend, you know, a couple of days together, and then she leaves. But yeah, everybody else is outside. They're waiting for them to come
listening
back
to
out.
them.
She turns around and says she has to go, and Jaskier looks over and goes, "Oh no!" And then they all walk away. Like Jaskier doesn't even say goodbye to Yen at all. You know, I just thought it was quite funny that happened. But maybe it's because the party did have their own bath. We see them all when Geralt is trying to solve the riddle, we see them all under the water, and it really looked like the dead marshes from Lord of the Rings.
It really did.
Maybe it's because they all had their own bath. That's why Yen didn't invite them in. Although a bath for 9 members of a crew might be a bit too many, even outside of Yen's powers.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I think the weird thing just right at the start of this was that Milva announces that she's pregnant with an elf child.
Yes.
Just before they have to go through this Yaskith swamp to get to Nilfgaard.
And that her name is Maria.
Yeah, exactly. So, I do like as well as initially as they've just gone in, Regis is kind of like looking around, who really likes the rare flora that he could use in some of his elixirs, and Yaski is just like, he says, yes, it's very pretty. Let's not linger. And there is even actually once Yaski has been taken, you just hear him going, Geralt, effing help. You hear being shouted by Yaski as he's in trouble, which is really good.
That's great.
So, there's some good stuff. But yeah, I must say I was a little bit, okay, Milva's pregnant. Grant. Okay, fine. No problem with that. It just seemed really out of the blue.
It did, didn't it?
It felt like it should have come after
her story.
Her story.
Yeah, but I guess that's also the cool thing about Milva as a character, just how she handles it. It's like, no, I'm giving you information. I'm not looking for help here or anything else. I'm just giving you the information because you'll know soon enough, basically. And then, of course, Regis it says, "Oh, I already knew. I'm able to smell that, basically. So, but I will keep your confidence,
Yeah, because he values discretion.
Exactly. Yes, I really like that. I also like that he does the what we do in the shadow moves right at the end when he turns into a bat and flies away. And just waiting for him to shout "bat" before he did it as well. That's most of the episode though is really about the swamp thing and of course about the bath. But the other things that are going on with Emir are really fundamental to the series. This reveal that fake Ciri is now known by the outside world almost leads to the death of Skellen.
Yeah.
Once again in this show, that tends to be the way things go. You get to a scene, a character is definitely going to be killed for some piece of information that's been revealed, and then they're not killed, they're kept on board. Partly because of what fake Ciri tells Skellen. Terran tells him all about the fact that Yen has been to the castle and that Yen offered her the ability to go and leave and be in safety with them. And she told Yen no. She now serves him as a master. She will do whatever he says and whatever he needs her to do, which is a big moment, really, Yen's kind of saying to her, look, you're pretending to be a princess, and the minute they don't need you, they're going to kill you. But she has now made herself invaluable to Emir. At least that's what she hopes, anyway.
Well, exactly. But I actually really liked Terran here.
Me too.
I thought that, she says to Ciri about that, she was tortured by Vilgefortz, and it's like, well, where were my sorceresses when I needed them?
Yes.
Here, I'm not an experiment. I am a princess. And I kind of liked her defiance a bit towards Ciri here.
Yeah.
And then as she games Emir with her, I serve you, I serve the White Flame. You've given me a purpose after sparing my life. And you kind of, just because of the talk that Skellen had with her, you're just like, this is like, I like this fake Ciri.
Yeah.
I like what she's doing. She's making the most of this horrific situation that she's been given to see if she can get something from it. So yes, we'll see in time, if that is the case. But yeah, no, I thought this was a nice little moment really from Terran.
Yeah, and I think it's something that we kind of missed a little bit this season. One of the things that's there in The Witcher has always been the scheming that's going on behind the scenes, where all the Machiavellian things that are going on across the continent. And what we really have been seeing throughout this show or this season has been in the background to the stories about Geralt and the story about Yen. Behind all of that, there's also a war going on between nations. But I love it kind of dipping in here, with this moment with Terran. I think it's really cool. But also, quite a big thing that may play out either next episode or in the next season, with the prophecy that's out there and the reveal of who Emir was last episode and the fact that, Geralt also has a prophecy connected to Ciri. work out an idea that if they kill Geralt, then the prophecy should return to Ymir. There should only be one prophecy then. So they're now making their plan to take out Geralt.
Yeah, absolutely. But equally as well, Skellen's kind of betrayal has been exposed. He was trying to game Ymir here. We'd seen that in the previous episode where the Redanian general who knew about it needed to be killed. He needed the secret kept as well.
Yeah.
But equally, you have this moment where Skellen is at the point of a knife that Ymir has to his throat.
See, I was a little confused about that. Because the way it came across was that Ymir knew anyway. And what he's annoyed about is that the secret's out to the world.
Yes.
Is that the case? Yeah, I was right about that. So that it's Ymir had already known. He's not angry with Skellen that Skellen was protecting us. It was Vilgefortz's plan, not Skellen's, to put the fake Ciri in his
so
household.
Then, Gran, I misunderstood that. It wasn't actually because he had come to find out Skellen's betrayal. Although the reason why I thought that was just because of Ymir's mage then in the background.
Right, I get you.
But I do like the fact that despite Ymir looking to kill him, Skellen does manage to squirm out of it, as you say, by effectively putting the fly in the ointment here. It's also Geralt's destiny is with her. You can't have these parallel or dual destinies. And that path then must be cleared, which is to kill Geralt.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's all really intriguing, this bit, and so, it was good to have that back in The Witcher.
Absolutely. It was really cool to see that, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, certainly when you think back to sort of Lars Mikkelsen's character of Stregobor, sort of all that sort of conniving and so on that kind of kept coming through. So, it was really good.
Absolutely. That was quite cool. One thing I didn't think was very cool is my note for the episode. When we do get introduced to this character of Hotspur, the guy that's carrying news from village to village and meets up with the rats, this feels really convenient that he walks in, meets the rats, tells them all of the information that he has about Leo Barnhart, that he's in a couple of towns over and he's chasing down the rats, but also he knows the information about Ymir marrying the fake Ciri, and he tells it right in front of Ciri, who knows that can't possibly be true. So that's a really convenient way in the penultimate episode to get everybody on the same page, isn't it?
It really is. But I think as well, having the Rats movie somewhere in between, you would feel that they're going back to one of their well-known sort of bases or towns that they would come to. Yeah. And that they know Hotspur already. And so I think it wouldn't seem as much of, well, who's this guy?
Yeah. And then, of course, by the end of the episode, we find out the bigger reveal, which is that Leo Barnhart has sent Hotspur there to tell them the information that he's following because he's laying a trap for them.
Exactly.
And then, of course, by the end of the episode, we find out the real twist is that Hotspur was sent there by Leo Barnhart to tell the rats that that he was after them, or tell them where he is as a trap that he's laying for them. So, so it's not as bad, but I just think the extra thing being thrown in there that he's talking about the marriage of Ymir to fake Ciri right in front of Ciri just felt a little bit like, how do we get her to know that information?
I know.
So, yes, but at least they're all on the same page going into the final episode, into our last one. John, before we get into our last chat, what's your rating for this episode of The Witcher?
I like this episode, probably not as much as some of the others, but I did like a lot of aspects of this. I'd give this 3.5 TARDIS tents out of 5, because it had the bath. It had the bath in it. Yeah. I've been asking for it all season. I get it here in a tent in a swamp.
I think that should get it up to 4.
It probably should, in all honesty. And I think actually, with us discussing it here, I feel I like the episode more. I think at the time, coming straight off Monte Calvo and that battle, it just felt like there was some impetus lost a little.
Yeah, this felt like, we've got that last episode. We know what we're doing with that. We need to get our players into a certain position. We've got all the girls trooped together, but we just need to have a little diversion to get us to our last episode where, how do we set them all up?
But I did like the swamp thing, and I actually really thought that Terran here, in terms of fake Ciri, was really good. I like that whole, I like the whole conniving and plotting at the White Flame,
Yeah, very cool.
It was really good.
Absolutely.
But I think we should get on to some of our feedback that we got through from old Dr. Bob Phillips.
Absolutely, yes. Young Dr. Bob Phillips, because it was a couple of weeks ago. On episode 7, he says, 7 episodes we had to wait for a bath, but it wasn't too disappointing, I suppose. Also, that tent seemed to be ridiculously lavish for a stop on the trail, didn't it? As Ciri was galloping off into the sunset, it did make me think, though, can anyone remember if they've always ridden Western style? I thought they rode European saddles in the earlier series, but might be mixing up with Wheel of Time. Interesting question, Dr. Bob. Is that side saddle in Europe?
That's what I was thinking.
I just don't know. One of my saddest things, and I hopefully will rectify this before I turn 50, one of the saddest things is I've never ridden a horse, so I don't know the difference between European style riding and Western style riding. I don't know the difference. Maybe within the next year, I'll ride a horse and I'll ask the question.
I'm not too sure. I mean,
I could just Google it, I know, but I'm trying to build up to the fact that I want a horse ride lesson for my birthday. You've got about 7 months or 8 months.
Excellent. Good
well,
stuff.
more than 8 months. You've got 10 months. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, excellent.
So I don't know. I didn't notice, Dr. Bob.
Yeah, no, I'm not clear. I only know saddle and side saddle.
Yeah.
But I guess there are
Ciri did
differences.
look like she was in a Western. Like, she looked very cool.
Well, I think she was
riding
galloping
down
off
it.
because,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's cool.
it kind of is left with Hotspur effectively saying that the rats are in danger. So off she goes to try and rescue them.
Yeah.
And hopefully she gets there in good time.
Yes, I guess we'll find out how that plays out in our next episode.
Exactly.
Let's get on to it, John. Our final episode of season 4 of The Witcher, which is Baptism of Fire.
Well, indeed.
Even at its conception, the Brotherhood was an exercise in contradiction, weaponizing our God's given power to serve its whims, fueling hate and distrust for anyone who was different, pushing us into royal alliances, pitting us against each other. But in the course of weeks, we, the women in this room, have managed to combine our magic, our methods, to make allies of old enemies because we shared one goal: protecting magic from Vilgefortz's takeover.
Fringilla, you are stronger than all of us. To have endured what Vilgefortz put you through.
It's like all my life, I've only ever known one primal instinct. And that's been to seek out the powerful and hold on. Till you showed up at my door.
Your rabbit hole.
It turns out that our strength, all of our strength, it's innate.
And stronger. Together.
And together, we can clean up this mess.
We can also all agree this is Vilgefortz's fault.
And he's still out there.
We're not done yet. The future of magic is still at risk.
Ciri is still at risk.
We'll find her. And in the meantime, we make sure there's a home for her to come back to. We bring back Asaya, Ida, Zyma, Elena, and the novices, and we build a lodge of sorceresses. And we do it our way.
And this episode, once again, of course, directed by Jeremy Webb and written by Mike Ostrowski, who is an executive producer on The Witcher. He wrote the penultimate episode of season 1 and 2 and the finale of season 3 and now of season 4. So a dab hand at this show. Usually knows how to nail the landing.
Well, he certainly nails a lot of things here.
Yes, he did. Yeah, John, do you want to tell us the bloody synopsis for this episode of The Witcher season 4, the finale, Baptism of Fire?
Sure. Geralt and his party commandeer a ferry to cross the river Yaruga, only to be caught between Nilfgaardian and Northern soldiers on both sides of the river. Milva has a miscarriage and the group is forced to make landfall under a bridge. Geralt, Cahir and Zoltan lead the Northern forces in defeating the Nilfgaardians, and a monster, as Regis and Jaskier care for Milva. After the battle, Geralt is knighted by Queen Maeve of Lyria and Rivia, which makes him honour-bound to serve her.
And only her. Yeah.
Yes. Yennefer inspires the surviving sorceresses to create their own lodge before leaving in pursuit of Vilgefortz, tracking him through a portal that leads her into the middle of the ocean near a maelstrom. Vilgefortz kills his surviving followers for their cowardice. The rats attempt to kill Leo Bonhart, but he effortlessly butchers all of them. Arriving too late to save them, Ciri faces off against Bonhart, but is defeated. Bonhart then decapitates the corpses of the rats and takes Ciri captive. Desperate for Geralt's death to eliminate the threat to his prophecy, Emir procures a monster to find and kill him.
And they didn't use the CGI budget for this episode to show us what that monster looked like.
They certainly didn't.
We've got other things to do with that CGI budget. We'll hold off. We'll just use the screams and shouts of a monster in the background.
Absolutely.
Your imagination will fill in the rest until we have the budget for season 5.
Yes.
They have made season 5, so there is. They know what's in that cell. We just don't. That's all.
Yeah.
John, my notes are really short for this episode because, there's a lot of blood, and that's kind of it. So what's your big moment from the episode?
My big moment is all at sea, or should I say all at river. I just liked the inherent comedic note of the riverboat, where they're stuck between the northern knights and soldiers that are on the Nilfgaardian side of the river, and the Nilfgaardians who are on the northerners' side of the river that they are traversing down. I like the fact that, the two river boatmen that are, one is killed, and the other, when he finds out that Regis is a vampire, just jumps overboard, which is also perfectly logical to do. So I kind of really like this. I like the fact that they were talking about baboons, which were actually, it was guerrilla warfare,
Very
where
good,
they're going over, the Northerners going over onto the Nilfgaardian side.
I wonder if that a joke from Andrzej Sapkowski about his books being mistranslated in the past or something.
It might be. It really could be. But I really did. I kind of like this caper, and I like then ultimately that it ended at this bridge where you have a nice little battle scene on the bridge. Clearly I'm rooting for the Northerners here.
Of course.
But,
as you are every day. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why we're in North Dublin.
But the bridge fight, it kind of evoked memories of Endor with the Ewok log roll strategy to take down the AT-STs, but this time the cavalry charging.
And that's the dwarf that does that.
It does. There was kind of a huge fight with a troll-like creature, which felt very Lord of the Rings. I like the whole... Geralt, Cahir, and Zoltan are leading sort of the rally cry for the Northern soldiers, despite the fact that they've been trying to shoot them all the way through the previous sort of 5 minutes as they're going down the river with the ferrymen.
Absolutely. I also love that Jaskier comes in, shouts at the Northmen, and then goes back out the window again to go back down to Regis. Like, I'll tell them all to follow the orders of their commander, Cahir, but I'm out.
Exactly.
I've done my job.
So I just really like this. And then finally, they also rescue Queen Maeve. They hold the bridge, and then... post the battle, she's giving thanks to Geralt. I like the fact that, they ask who is Geralt, and he says, well, whatever comes next, I'm standing with my group, wondering, well, because they were also trying to kill them. They thought they were Nilfgaardian spies.
Yes.
But I like the fact that she ultimately... through broken teeth as well, so she tells her general to read the words because all her teeth are smashed and broken after the fighting.
Queen Maeve, yes.
So Queen Maeve was an absolute highlight here with her teeth all smashed in.
But also the irony of what happens is hilarious.
So. And also then she's like, but I like this bit where she actually then knights him as Geralt of Rivia.
Where did he get that name from?
Yeah, exactly. Well, just because as well he had previously, this idea that that's what he wanted.
Oh, absolutely, of course.
So I kind of like that little sort of, completing the circle of it. I also like the fact that she says, now you are, effectively a bannerman almost forming is like, oh, feck. So this all was really good for me. I thought it was really good. And like, it almost feels a little bit of a strange final episode. I was thinking like it was going to be more sort of Vilgefortz and Yennefer rather than Yennefer just portaling into the sea and with a massive vortex.
Like it not being resolved as well. Yennefer arriving in the ocean going, have I done something wrong here? And maybe, am I supposed to go into the vortex or what? Like that's what I was wondering, whether she would make that decision and we never see her again. Yeah. She's just in the ocean. So next season, she'll have been in the ocean for weeks on end. You know?
It felt like portaling onto the deck of the Titanic just before it hits the iceberg. It's like, oh no.
Shouldn't have done that. It's mad.
But I did like this whole riverboat saga.
Escapade, yes.
And
I just loved, I must say, just that first moment of realization when they're getting across from one side to the other and they get over there and they go, oh no, there's Northland soldiers over there, and the Northland soldiers are going, give us our bloody boat. Like, this is how we get away. Oh no, the Nilfgaardians are coming down to kill us all. Give us back our boat, you know? The realization that they've just stolen the way that the Northlanders get away from their attacks or their guerrilla warfare.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that wasn't necessarily crystal clear to me was why Geralt and his band of merry men were still heading to Nilfgaard.
So they were looking for the Druids, and the Druids were in Nilfgaard.
Okay, grand. Okay,
it was a weird one because
I was thinking he knows Ciri isn't there.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a weird one that the Druids happen to be in the same direction that they've been traveling. You know, the kind of thing that's been going on in the background that we all knew. Ciri wasn't there in Nilfgaard, and we've been watching them go week after week to traveling further and further towards Nilfgaard. Luckily, it wasn't, oh no, those Druids that we need to see are on the other side of the continent, you know. Luckily, they didn't do it that way. So Regis maybe just happened to know some Druids that were in Nilfgaard because they were close enough now at this stage. Maybe that was it.
Okay, excellent. But that was my big moment. Derek, what was yours?
What I've written in my notes for my point is, I mean, what the F happened to the rats? Because
absolutely,
this is totally unexpected for me, anyway. So the rats make the decision to go after Leah Bernhardt, as we mentioned when we chatted about that decision in episode 7. There has to have been a reason. They must have seen his weakness in the past, because I wouldn't be going anywhere near someone like Leah Bernhardt, especially someone that carries trophies of their victims, you know? That just sounds like a really bad idea, no matter how cocky they are. But maybe they've just been taking way too much of that fist tech, and they've just got this ridiculous confidence, because he toys with them. There's the moment when they arrive in the town and they're all standing around outside, and Leo comes out from the upstairs window, and I was going, oh, you guys didn't plan this at all. When they tried to rob the tax collector's house, they had someone doing distractions, someone going in through an upper window, someone breaking in the door. You know, they had a plan for it. Here they walk up to this guy's house, shout from below to call him out, and he just walks down the stairs and kills every single one of them brutally, except for Missile. He keeps her alive, but he kills each one of them in such brutal manner.
Oh, absolutely.
I was just not expecting it.
I mean, this is really surprising to me. And again, I think, as we discussed for the last episode, I think their approach to Leo Bernhardt is probably makes more sense once you've seen the extended TV movie that they have, you know, because it's just really surprising that they're effectively all killed. I mean, this show, you know, is known for its fighting sequences, and I think, again, it's really good here. Just didn't really expect that after it there would be ultimately a dead band of rats on the street. But, you know, I do like the fact that you have Kaylee, who's the bomb expert, who has effectively his green explosive rocks stuffed into his belly. You don't as such see him explode, but you see the outward explosion pattern of his guts and torso from behind Leo Bernhardt. Even, you know, I think Reef, who is the one that's kind of the bow and arrow specialist, at least in this fight, she just seems like overly cocky, and I wonder whether that's because she's had too much of the fist tech.
Probably.
Because,
like that.
she is taken down really quickly, but I mean, they all really go for him. And like we saw with his introductory battle with one of the witches, he's able to dodge and weave, and he's really capable, is Leo Bonhart. And so, like, this just feels like an unfair fight, and that they should, by having sort of met Leo before and escaped from him, should know this. And so, like you say, it is. It's really surprising that they all died. Even actually though, when Ciri comes in and gets beaten, I'm like, oh, okay. So, like, literally, you know, is anyone going to survive this? I mean, I know Ciri will, but
but at least Ciri was a bit of a challenge.
Yes.
The rest of them were just slaughtered. Like their leader, Gisler, he's taken out. He's left to die with his belly cut open, while he kills Iskra while he's still alive, basically. So she dies in his arms almost, as well. But it's just absolutely brutal. And I've said this before about The Witcher. I don't know how they strike this tone, for the show. Like, there's sometimes when you see, let's say, the musical scene with Jaskier from earlier on in the season, you go, the fun tone that's struck there. And then you see this battle where they hold nothing back and have people, you know, absolutely slaughtered. And then following it up with killing each of them and taking all of their heads. Missel's not dead when he's captured Ciri. She's tied up, but he cuts her head off while she's still breathing.
Well, that was just kind of like...
so brutal.
Very brutal. I mean, it was just like, oh, okay.
Like, you see her still breathing, it cuts to Ciri, so we don't see him taking her head, but you can hear it, you know exactly what he's doing, and then you see her head being dropped into the bucket.
I mean, I guess the bounty said head or alive. But I mean...
God, typos were terrible back in those
days. It really was. But I do think, you know, that's probably how bounties were collected. It's, well... why am I going to carry the bodies across? I need to reduce the weight of these. I can't bring 6 bodies across, so I'll take their heads. And it's, you know, their facial recognition. Literally medieval facial recognition.
Exactly.
But it was, and it did feel really, really brutal. Them getting their heads sawn off by Leo. But yeah. I wasn't expecting that either, so it was a real bit of a shock.
It was,
to be honest.
It was. So farewell to the rats, and Ciri's now in Leo Barnhart's custody. Interesting though, because the instruction that he got from Skellen was kill her, and he's now going to bring her back.
Yes,
to Skellen. He said that there's a price on her head. We know that, but it seems like Leo has maybe figured out that if Skellen wants to kill her most of all, then there's something even more important to keep her alive. Maybe it's that.
Yeah, he's a smart bounty hunter. You can tell.
I feel like we're going to learn more about him in the rats than we should have known going into this episode.
Agreed.
So I'm very much looking forward to seeing that. Any other notes from the episode that you want to mention, John?
Yeah, I really liked the call from Yen. You know, she comes back from her tent in the swamp activities, and I like that she kind of pulls Philippa out of her funk, who believes that, you know, hope is kind of being lost here. Whereas Yen strikes this tone of, you know, our greatest strength has been overlooked. The asset that we have is our sisterhood and the strength within that sisterhood. You know, she talks about how the mages had us in the background, and trying to keep the sorceresses divided and splintered across the whole of the continent, but actually coming together, working together, you know, Fringilla with Philippa, with Yen, all these people in episode 1 would have been fighting one another on the respective sides, because that's where they've been told to go. Fringilla was told to be the sorceress at Nilfgaard, you know, and she was the eyes, the ears for everyone back at Thenad, you know, and the mages. Whereas it's, you know, not doing things disparately or fractious, you know, this joining together brings our energy, our power, and our methods that we saw them take down. Vilgefortz army. So I kind of love this whole sentiment, to build a lodge of sorceresses and to do it our way, and to get those novices, back in order to create this new magical order. And I kind of really like that. Even Triss promises to do that and to form this lodge, even if Yen doesn't return from her washing machine experience at the hands of the Maelstrom.
Absolutely. It does feel like these mages would be very happy in the world of Wheel of Time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's effectively they're creating the Sisterhood to control all magic and get rid of the only male magic users left. And Vilgefortz does help them with that by killing 3 of his own people who got out. The only reason you got out of that battle was cowardice, so you're dead. And as he takes their powers or takes their tongues and hair.
That was interesting.
I don't really know you, but I like your eyes was the one that I thought was quite bizarre. Yeah.
But I thought that was quite interesting, you had good hands and takes the hands, the tongue. It was just kind of interesting why he was doing that, or for what purpose.
Well, yes, I presume it's to extend his power
differently
somehow.
Extend his power, exactly. So, I thought that was really interesting. But then, equally, it feels like we need season 5 really quickly.
Well, as I say, it has been filmed, so we're just waiting a release date for it. I suspect it's going to be relatively soon.
Well, Netflix will just drop it all in one go.
Yeah, Christmas or something. Yeah,
probably will.
We'll come back from our Christmas holidays, and we'll be suddenly have another 8 episodes of Witcher to cover. All of a sudden, it just feels like that's what they've done. There was a deal. They had 5 seasons. They've made them, and there you go. It's out. There'll probably be another animated show that will be dropped in January as well or something. There's so much of this world that Netflix committed to and are then just releasing for people to see immediately because they're too focused on promoting Stranger Things, I think, at the moment.
Yeah.
That kind of seems to be it. There's nothing really else from me about the episode. I did think the resolution to Milva's pregnancy seemed really awkward. Yes. It was awkward enough, the announcement of her pregnancy last episode.
Agreed. This now, I'm not entirely sure what this means because she's lost the baby. The only thing is she talks in the last episode about her concern, her worry, her anxiousness that somehow, with it being an elf baby, it will be almost parasitic. So, they talk about a wasp laying its eggs in the caterpillar and rather than turning into a beautiful butterfly, effectively.
From the inside out.
Yeah. So,
I think that's just a genuine fear.
Agreed.
When someone's mistakenly pregnant, you do get that.
But that was the only thing I could kind of cling on to. Do you know?
And all I feel is this was in the book. That's what I think. This is something that happened to the character Milva in the book. It lasted this is spread over 2 different books. Remember, it's the end of the last book that was covered in season 3 and the start of the next book. So it feels like something that they went, well, Milva was pregnant in the book, so she has to be pregnant here. We have to at least mention it. Oh, okay. Well, now we've gotten to the next episode and now we've said she's had a miscarriage and on we go. So I don't know. It just seemed odd to have it so quickly, and it felt like something, even if it wasn't the book, you could probably drop if this is all it was. It was just that one moment with her in one episode, and then this other moment in the next episode.
It just felt weirdly dumb. But it might be something that really crops up in season 5, or there's more to tell on this. But at the moment, I think, again, this episode 8, like, I enjoyed it in and of itself, but as a final episode, it feels like it's just left hanging a bit.
It's half the season again, and we're 8 episodes into half of a season, which feels odd in the Witcher world, doesn't it? Yeah. One other thing we should mention, we do see the return of the storyteller. He reveals the name of Geralt's troop is the Hansa. So this group themselves are quite famous in the future. What did they say earlier on in the season, or at the start of the season? It's 100 years on from the time of Geralt and his team. So they are known now as the Hansa around the continent. And interestingly, we see a grown-up version of the girl that we saw in the first episode. She's now moving on. She's leaving her village and going off to the Sisterhood, who are now set up in Monte Calvo. Yeah. So that bit's all worked out. It's an odd way to bring it back in, though, to kind of have some resolution to some of the story threads.
And to give huge spoilers.
Yeah, but it's like some of the resolution to the story threads are there. The fact that they named the Hansa here in this episode when 3 members walked away from the group last episode. We had the dwarf and the goblin leaving the group last episode, remember? So the fact they're naming them here, but it's interesting that we're still seeing the stories. And one of the extra things that's added that I did like is that the book that they've been reading from is the half century of stories written by Jaskier. So that book did eventually get written and has been passed down through the generations, keeping the stories of Geralt alive.
Yes.
So I do like that. And that's
absolutely.
a really nice touch.
Yeah.
So, yes. And John, how would you rate this as the finale for season 4?
I did really enjoy it. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing was just the rats and the fight with Leo Bonhart. And I think with that, I'd give it 4 rat traps out of 5.
Ooh, yes.
I think it was shocking, slightly disturbing, very, very brutal. And again, you had a great fight on the bridge between the Nilfgaardians and the Northern forces. I liked the feel of this, where it didn't necessarily feel like a final episode.
Yeah.
In terms of the final big bang, except if it was what's happening to Yennefer.
I know, and even what's happening to Yennefer, there wasn't a fine enough point put on it. It's like, even if she was saying something like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm here," I just don't know what's happened to her. Is she just literally, you see the camera from a different angle and she's staring onto Vilgefortz's palace or something on the other side of the camera? Yeah. I just don't know. Why is she out in the ocean? Has he tricked the portal to send anybody trying to find him out into the ocean? Is that what it is? Because it absolutely could be that. Yeah. But I need a line to tell me that.
Something like that. Exactly.
So yeah, an odd ending. It was quite funny that Geralt became Geralt of Rivia after introducing himself in the first episode as Geralt of Rivia. I think that's a good gag to close out the season, but an odd way to finish the show. So I am glad we have a little bit more of The Witcher and the Rats coming next week to just have a little bit more.
And a season 5.
And a season 5, of course. Absolutely. Excellent stuff. That's it for our coverage of the 4 episodes, but we do have some feedback in. First up, Coffee and Vodka sent his email on the 4 episodes. He says, "Greetings, fellow storied defenders. In a nutshell, adequate with moments of brilliance. Outside the shell, I would say it stuck to the season landing where there won. Vilgefortz remains villainous. Yennefer and Geralt, as ever, heroic. Ciri still finding her place and character, yet it all felt a bit procedural. Even the death of the Rat Pack was more or less expected for me, and without any real impact. The Sisterhood's battle against Vilgefortz's forces, however, was pure tragic spectacle. Very much a binary season of meh versus wow. The spark of the season has turned out to be Leo Barnhart. He was the only one for me who really swaggered off the screen, stealing every scene he was in. As they filmed this in conjunction with season 5, I'm looking forward to a hopefully satisfying conclusion next year. 3.8 tallied tales, rat-grabbed brats, sentient swamps, and daytime knighthoods out of 5. Peace and take care. Coffee and Vodka.
Great stuff. Thanks, Coffee and Vodka. I think, at 3.8, around 4, I think that kind of makes a lot of sense for me. I think if I'm reading what you said correctly, you absolutely enjoyed the battle at Monte Calvo with Vilgefortz's forces. I'm totally with you on that one. Some really good moments throughout this second half of the season. But as you say, I think the final episode lacks some kind of landing, like you point out there. I think totally agree with your positioning of this final 4 episodes.
Absolutely, and you're totally right. Sholto Copley has been such a standout this season.
Time,
He's been great every single time he comes on screen. I'm really
but wouldn't you love a character like that as well?
To play like that,
to lean into. Yeah,
absolutely. I keep saying it. Hopefully we'll see more in The Rats.
Definitely. Thanks, Coffee and Vodka.
Thanks, Coffee and Vodka.
Also, on episode 8, Dr. Bob said, I guess we all now know the correct response to battlefield knighting.
Feck.
Exactly. I didn't expect a TPK, total party kill, in games like Dungeons & Dragons, of the rats. or the solution to a slough of despond being parenthood, and what that means for the pregnancy loss storyline later on in the series. Impressive troll killing on top of it all. Impressive troll killing to top it all off, though.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent stuff, Dr. Bob. I think the TPK of the rats, definitely not expected.
No, I thought it was a real surprise.
But, you know...
Huh?
There we go. R.I.P. rats.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They weren't. I mean, done and dusted.
So they're not
with
coming back
the
from
exception
that.
of course, our coverage of the Rats, the TV special movie.
Absolutely. Yes, go out and watch that. We want to hear your thoughts on that as well. Email us to feedback at TV Podcast Industries. I suspect that most of our listeners don't know that was released because we haven't heard anything from anybody about that.
No.
Nobody's mentioned any of their feedback. Nobody sent any feedback into us.
Well, they know they all die.
I know.
That's the
it
thing.
does feel weird. I think I said that to you,
yeah.
didn't I, when we were finishing the episode? I was like, well, who's going to want to know? Who's going to want to watch a movie about the rats when we know their end here? It does seem odd that it's out there, but we'll see. Let's see what that contains. I'm going to go into it open mind. It'll be an interesting story. There were interesting characters, so hopefully it'll be very fun to watch.
Exactly. Great stuff.
And it has been very fun to podcast on The Witcher this season. If you're not going to join us for the Rats episode, thanks for joining us for The Witcher for the 4th season as well. We'd love it if you subscribe to the main podcast, which you can get over on our podcast website at tvpodcastindustries.com. You can subscribe there to our main feed, which has covered over 50 different shows across 1,000 episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you want to support us, you can support us through patreon.com or through buymeacoffee.com. Just search TV Podcast Industries.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, you can share the podcast, because sharing the podcast is, of course, sharing the love.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And thanks so much for joining us. We will speak to you again next time.
Yes, thank you so much, fellow Witchers, for joining us for this season 4 of The Witcher. Until we get to the Rats, keep watching, keep listening, and of course, keep witching.
Bye.
Bye. I think it's just kind of really interesting to see, you know, that kind of story of really just get that backstory. I mean, in a sense, it felt like this was, to some degree, I think, along with Cahir, because Cahir's always just been the general of Nilfgaard. So what is his backstory, you know?
I'm sure that sounded like Milfgard. Nilfgaard, right, yes.
Yeah. Milva reveals to the group that she is pregnant after an encounter with an elf in Broccolon before she joined the group. Gerald? Gerald?
Hey, Gerald?
I'm right, Gerald. Gerald and Penelope.
Well, Gerald and Yennefer, likely.